guys, welcome back to the Convo Couch. My name is Connie.
I'm Sun.
And today we have the beautiful guest Uma Kali Shakti, also known as Aunty Uma. She is an actor and a director and was very passionate about diversity and inclusion.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. So I would like to say Yamadu Marang, Jingiwala, Salam Alaikum, Kia ora, Nisambula Vinaka, Namaste, Sasrikal, Kimcho. I'm a very multicultural person.
Sounds like it. Gosh.
Yes, and I'd like to acknowledge the Indigenous people of this country and the people of my adopted family, the Jerinja clan of the Wandiwandian Nation. So, yes, I have a very multicultural background, which I'll tell you about if you're
Please,
interested.
I can't wait. So, Uma, tell us about your story. Tell us about how you came. Yes.
Well, my ancestors are from Rajasthan, northern India. In the middle to the end of the 1800s, my people were taken by the British to work in the sugarcane plantations of Fiji, which is actually, the actual name is Biti. And so 3 generations of my people were born, including me, before my family, through various means and reasons, were able to migrate to what you know as Aunty Aurora, New Zealand. And I loved reading. It was my form of escape because, unfortunately, I came from a family of domestic violence. It was terrifying. So the world of storytelling was a world I escaped to, and I think the combination of escaping from fear and abuse and the world that was created by these books and in my own imagination, I think was the seeds for what I want to go on become. The girls who were in arranged marriages that their families organised, or the ones who were defied and went on and had relationships with men who weren't South Asian necessarily and defied their families to marry them. I knew I wanted neither. So eventually I ran away, and the place I came to was Australia, which I knew because I'd come on a visit to a friend and discovered that, I thought Australia is very much like New Zealand but just bigger. And I thought I was ready for it, so I came to live here. And from then I started living my life on my own terms without necessarily having to be answerable to anyone. I also had fallen in love with Shakespeare and his writing, because to me, when I started seeing his play and reading his work, it's like, there's an old white fella who writes like Indian movies. Because if you look at them, the Indian movies are big and about all those classic things. Nice. And that's what Shakespeare was like for me. So that for me was a natural coming together. So at the university where I worked, I got an opportunity to do my first degree, my bachelor's, in communications and world literature. So it was a double major with a sub-major in drama and theatre. So it was a brand new university. We were the foundation staff and students. There was no theatre. So we, the students, with our hot sweat and hard work and muscles, actually built an amphitheatre to put on our own plays. And that was a very exciting time. It was the end of the 60s, early 70s, so there was a lot going on in the world at the time. And so my politicisation process also began at that time. So all the stuff about women's struggles, and prior to that already the struggles of African American people, black people in the US had resonated with me. So I just threw myself into that as well. And so from that point, I've always been a social justice and human rights activist. Through my political work, I got involved in a protest action down in Jervis Bay, where the New Zealand Navy, in conjunction with the Australian military, were having a bombing exercise in what is the sacred site areas of the clans of that area, and I was involved in that. And from that process, I was very, very fortunate to be welcomed into the community and become part of that community, which I mentioned, I think, at the opening. Eventually went to London. I had made friends with people that, especially one particular teacher who'd come to do some work with us in terms of theatre, and he and I became very staunch friends, and I went to London and met many, many more black and people of colour and started doing more in theatre. And then eventually I came back to the Pacific, and I tried to reconnect with my family. That didn't work because something important had happened in between. I then found out that guys didn't actually do it for me. Didn't realise there was an alternative. When I found out the alternative, I thought, I had a very good friend who was killed in a motorbike accident. Now, up to that point, I'd only ever written political articles, but the only way I could express my grief came out in poetry. And once that plug in my heart came out, I was just gushing. So I started writing plays, short stories, Short+Sweet Festivals, which you might have heard of. That's been going for about 18 years. I've just finished in a wonderful little play called Insects, which is about the sex life of insects, and I was the only non-insect. I was Venus flytrap.
Wow.
So it was lots of fun. It was like an hour. The other thing I do with the rest of my time is I'm very, very much involved in the Martian Embassy. What is that, I hear you say? And that is, a Martian Embassy is a space that's been set up to provide for free creative writing for children from 7 to 17, and we work predominantly with children from, say, the autism spectrum, refugee and migrant kids. I feel like about a third of our kids are blackfellas. The methodology, i.e. the technology, may have changed in all those years. Storytelling itself hasn't. So we just use modern technology to keep on telling stories. So from the time that we're human beings sitting outside caves, we told stories. My mum couldn't really read English. And we grew up with my mum with the oral traditions, the family oral traditions. So my favourite memories are lying with my mum on the bed with a mosquito eating over us. She's got my sister in one arm and me in the other, and telling us fairy stories and stories told among our people, and going back, ancient stories. And I think it was those stories, because you had to use your imaginations and just dream of what you were seeing.
So it's really your mom telling you the stories.
And then from there, when I learnt to read, I used to read about 20 books in a week.
Oh, gosh.
And I'd be back in the library, then I'd be out again taking another big armload of books.
I feel like not many kids would have that desire to read and read so much, and actually think that education is important. Most of them would want to go out and play.
Okay, so we're talking about 60 years ago. There wasn't technology as you know it.
All right.
This is even before TV.
Okay.
And then when TV came, we couldn't afford it for a long time. So reading was really, really important.
All right.
Really important. That was the way, the imagination. I'll give you an example of what's different today. I picked up Harry Potter to read, and like what we do, we imagine the characters. Then I went and saw the film. So all the series of the next Harry Potters that I want to read, in my head, I couldn't remember how I'd envisaged them. And so the Harry Potter and the gang and everybody, when I was reading, were the ones that we'd seen on screen.
Of course.
So it was your imagination that you could use to be the characters. If the characters weren't described as being Anglo-Saxon, then you had in your imagination, they could be any. They could be all colours of the rainbow based on your own imagination. I think in some ways, although the world has opened up and we have so much, because I think that technology and what we can do with the internet has totally changed things for human beings altogether. As a director, I will have a casting session of something and the young people turn up and someone does an audition and I'll say, okay, now would you like to do your audition piece as if your dog's just died? Okay, now would you like to do your audition piece as if you've just won lotto? Their faces don't change.
Really?
So I know that relating to flat screens, I feel like humankind's ability to communicate, we use our faces, our hands and our bodies, is actually changing in the blink of an eye. It's all flat screens. I think we've got to trust who we are, and also we need to look back. The kinds of things that ancient cultures, some of which have survived today in the very country we live in, their ability to do stuff that we've lost. Re-establishing what was the knowledge we had that we can try and reclaim again.
Okay.
So, and that might be done through the stories. And look, all the cave paintings, all the stories, the carvings in, different parts of the world. And knowledge isn't just, Eurocentric, based in the West. Some of our cultures have gone ancient times, and the knowledge was there. It was very difficult, and I have done a sort of reconciliation, but the role I think I hold is a family eccentric. There's no one else like me.
The family Maverick.
Yeah, family Maverick, and I also recognise that when our families come from other places and try and make a life in this country, it's all about trying to establish ourselves, get some security and stuff like that. And the arts take a very back step.
Of course.
And so I'm finding third generation born in the West, younger people today who have got the space to become artists and stuff. And so they're talking to me and we're finding it really exciting. So I'm getting more in common with them than I am with their parents. If I was speaking to my mum, I'd say, yes, Mum, you wanted security from me, you wanted all these things, and I lived my life in a different way. But I personally think, as two women, I got an opportunity for fulfillment and happiness more than you did. And I chose my way. So yes, I got rejected and all the other stuff you face in the outside world. But on the other hand, I am living.
I think this is great. Like, you had such a great mom who taught you from very young how to imagine, and she saw that you are.
She taught me. See, this is the irony of it. Yeah. She taught me to be a very strong woman, to be independent, and then when she expected me to bow my head under some man's foot, I was like, "You what?" So. The contradictions we all live without realising it.
I think the moms try to do their best for their kids and try to teach them the best and protect them.
Well, she always used to say to me when I was out there working, she says, to me, you're like a son. You bring home and put the weight back into my hand. You do everything. Yeah. She said, but when you're not home at 11 o'clock at night and it's dark, my son becomes my daughter. And then I worry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah. One of the latest groups, a theatre group I'm setting up with a couple of other women, is called the Doability Divas. So we are women with different forms of abilities, different abilities and disabilities, and we've been writing theatre and we're going to continue that. I've done lots of things under Rainbow Connections, which is one of the theatre organisations I've set up, and I've done another one called Flutterby Productions. So those are the two that I've done. But I've been associated with many different theatre groups and organisations and do a lot of things, as I said, through Martian Embassy. About 4 years ago, some of the kids at Martian Embassy wrote their own pantomime and I directed it. There was about 28 kids, 11 adults. It was fantastic and it was wonderful. So doing the kind of things I do with a group of wonderful people in a fantastic situation. Well, all I can say, blessings to you. I hope they learn. I'm learning a lot and I hope that other people will learn as well. It's a sharing.
Hey guys, thank you so much for joining us for a very special Convo Couch today. We're very honoured to have Aunty Uma with us, with her storytelling and passion for social justice.
It's been a privilege to be here. And if this is just an example of one of the episodes in the web series, keep tuning in for the next few ones. Keep looking. We don't know where we're going next.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Until next time.